Good day, everyone. For teleSUR, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. Demonstrations continue in Mexico, demanding more information into the case of 43 missing students. And that's where we begin today with our special coverage on the situation gripping Mexico, drawing international attention: the 43 missing students in the Mexican state of Guerrero. The parents of the 43 missing students began a caravan on Thursday, which will visit several states of the country to gather support and further pressure the Mexican government. Meanwhile, in Michoacan, state protesters took over 30 different town halls. Anger continues to mount as forensic experts are questioning the Mexican government's versions of events.
This crowd expresses its solidarity with the families of the disappeared Ayotzinapa students. Here, one father, Clemente Rodriguez, reflects upon his missing son, Cristian.
He is a simple and humble person because I taught him. I taught him not to be rude with people, and I taught him values.
Ser grosero con la gente. Yo le enseñé valores.
Yet here in this session of the Permanent People's Tribunal, scholars, experts, and activists charge the Mexican government of ignoring Cristian's values, criminalizing and placing youth in general in the crosshairs.
Lo que se está viviendo en México, esta renovación de la guerra sucia.
There is a renewal of the dirty war here in Mexico, and it has a characteristic that goes against youth, not just a particular group, youth in general, and that is why people are now accusing the state of a kind of youthicide.
Acusando al Estado mexicano de juvenicidio.
Meanwhile, the protests continue for Ayotzinapa as students also charge the authorities of declaring information with the hope to quickly close the case in quiet discontent.
It's a way of wanting to silence protesters and say to us, okay, go home, and pray with your rosary, so the issue dies there.
It seems unlikely that protests will stop anytime soon. Family and classmates of the disappeared are organizing a national caravan, while calls are being made for a general strike next week. Clayton Khan, teleSUR, Mexico City.
And thanks to Clayton, we move to Venezuela now, where President Nicolas Maduro has decreed 5 new laws designed to strengthen popular power. With an explanation of the measure, here's our correspondent Rachel Boothroyd.
Here in Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro has just approved 5 new laws via presidential decree using powers granted to him by the country's National Assembly in November 2013. Now, when he approved these laws, Maduro described them as laws for the people, and they are basically aimed at protecting the social rights of the Venezuelan population, as well as transferring more state powers over to organized communities. Now, the first law that we have is a law designed to protect the country's social programs known as missions. The second law is a law for financing people power projects. The third law that we have is a reform to the law of community management of services and functions, whilst the fourth is a law for productive employment. The fifth law that we have is another reform to the legal reform to the country's law guaranteeing access to food for the country's workers. You can find out more about these 5 new laws at our website at www.telesurtv.net/English. I'm Rachel Boothroyd reporting for teleSUR from Caracas, Venezuela.
Thanks to Rachel for that explanation. And continuing in Latin America, we go to Guatemala, where social unrest continues. The United Nations has condemned the violence. It has come during clashes between police and small farmers. At least 2 people have been killed in the unrest. Protests were sparked earlier this week after farmers took to the streets to demand the approval of a new law for rural development. The Guatemalan parliament has largely ignored the protests and announced it will not vote on the controversial law. To Brazil now we go, where trade unions and social movements mobilized yesterday to back President Dilma Rousseff's government. About 15,000 people participated in the mobilization in support of Rousseff's political reform. The demonstrations also denounced right-wing attempts to question her legitimacy. Now, in recent weeks, conservative parties and columnists have went so far as to call for an impeachment of the recently elected president. They're proposing a similar measure that led to the unconstitutional ousting of presidents in Paraguay and Honduras. And on Friday, the Argentinian government issued a new statement rejecting military exercises conducted by the United Kingdom in the Malvinas Island. The MHS Iron Duke warship conducted a series of maneuvers which included shooting 136 projectiles. The Argentinian government denounced the exercise as a violation of UN General Assembly Resolution 3149, which calls upon both Argentina and the UK to abstain from engaging in provocations while negotiations are taking place. In world news, we go to the United States, where President Barack Obama says he will act on immigration by the end of the year, with or without the support of Congress. The president announced Friday that he would use executive powers to approve new immigration measures by bypassing the Republican-led Congress and Senate. The president says the Republicans and Democrats have had enough time to discuss, amend, and improve a new immigration law, but have failed to do so. Obama's new measure would provide work permits to immigrants and could benefit more than 5 million people. Meanwhile, in the United States, government workers held a strike on Thursday demanding a raise to the federal minimum wage. The workers are asking to be paid $15 per hour. Earlier this year, President Barack Obama approved raising the minimum wage for federal contract workers to $10 per hour, but many say that's not enough. And we stay in the U.S. 3 months after unarmed black teenager Michael Brown was fatally shot by police in a suburb just outside of St. Louis, tensions are expected to rise again. That's because a grand jury is expected any day to release its decision on whether the officer who shot the teen will be charged or will walk free. Local authorities are preparing for possible protests. Meanwhile, Michael Brown's parents traveled to Geneva recently seeking international support in their search for justice. Also around the world, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is visiting Jordan in an attempt to ease tensions between Israel and Palestine. It comes as recent clashes over the Al-Aqsa Mosque have caused Jordan to withdraw its ambassador from Israel. The highest diplomat of the U.S. meets with Israeli, Palestinian, and Jordanian authorities. All parties agreed to take steps to reduce mounting tensions over the disputed holy site in East Jerusalem. And in the world of sports, the Mexican state of Veracruz is hosting the 22nd edition of the Central American and Caribbean Games. The international competition will last over 2 weeks until the closing ceremony on November 30th. 31 countries will participate. A total of 5,100 athletes will compete in 36 different sports. The competitions will take place in 5 different cities in the state, including the capital Jalapa and the port city of Veracruz. The regional games have taken place every 4 years since 1926, when they were first celebrated in Mexico. As always, we have plenty more on those stories and plenty others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.